Bad. Oh, nimekuja. It's the 20th of July. The year is 2023. Good morning and welcome to our mid morning show. I'm your host, Mary Oswero. You can follow us on our social media handles. We are live on YouTube at Farmers Media, on Facebook at Farmers Media, on Twitter at Farmers Media underscore with a Z, and on our website on www.afarmersmedia.com. Now, this morning, we have a very interesting topic. Our main topic of the day is how agricultural system has affected the ecosystem. And with us in studio is a very special guest. Our main guest of the day is Noah Nasiali. Karibu sana.
Umeavoid ya tatu. Yes, thank you very much. Asante sana.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Yes, thank you for having me. Yes.
How are you?
Very fine.
You're
a very
fine?
interesting topic. In a very interesting time, considering that we have the Shamba system coming up. I don't know if it's being implemented, then also being allowed to go and farm in forests. Anyway, let's see what the day has in store.
How's the Mandamano taking you?
Pressure. I can only say pressure. Because it's affecting everything. But anyway, they say everybody has their tool of trade. Yeah, politicians have theirs. What does it say?
I have to believe farmers are not so much affected.
Oh, they are very much affected.
Okay, like farmers who are still going to farm.
You see, that's the beauty about being a farmer.
Yeah.
Oh, no. In fact, there's some farmers who don't know Mandamano is going on.
Yeah.
And yes, so I think it's just to be peaceful. But there's some farmers who are affected, those who are taking produce to the market. Pressure. I don't want to be harvesting now. Because even where will you sell?
Yeah, actually. Because all businesses are closed.
Yes, but the beauty about farming is hata watu waandamane ama wasiandamane, we'll still eat.
Your business is going on.
You'll still have to sell. Utauza tu.
Shida tu ni when you're harvesting.
Utauza wapi?
You'll keep your vitungus until they grow.
Ianza kumea. Amwage ash. Amwage ash.
Okay, we have a very interesting topic today. We are glad to have you here, and I hope you'll help us on this topic for our viewers to learn more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I don't know if I should ask you the first question. What comes into your mind when you hear about agricultural system affecting the ecosystem?
Well, it's an interesting discussion, especially now that we're talking about climate smart and climate change. A lot has been said about the agriculture playing a very big role in the carbon emissions, which in a way it is true. In another way, it's also not true. So in a way that it's true is because agricultural activities affect the ecosystem mostly negatively.
Yes.
So they cause a lot of damages. So if we just start basic things like overplowing, I'll not say don't plow, but overplowing, you're messing the ecosystem. The soil structure is getting messed up. The microbes that are in the soil are getting lost, and damaged as well. The capacity, the water retention, or the way of the soil holding capacity of water is damaged. So that one now leads to things like soil pollution, erosion, soil erosion as well. But also the nutrients that are there. For me, being Africa's the soil health ambassador, I've always told myself that, which is also a fact, the first 12 centimeters. 12 centimeters, probably at most 1 foot, is where all the nutrients are. That is why we're told, even when you're planting things like fruit trees and the rest, unatoa hiyo mchanga juu, unaweka kando, you dig the hole, then you return that soil back in, because it is the one that holds the most number of nutrients. So you find that again, not all farmers observe that. Even me, I never used to know that. Okay, even if I did, I might not be the one who's digging the holes. So if you tell someone this one put aside, unless you're there watching, sometimes they will. If it's not common practice, they will not do it. So for me, agriculture and the ecosystem, they go hand in hand. If agriculture, if farmers practice agricultural activities that are not in line with the ecosystem, it is damaged. When the ecosystem is damaged, who suffers is still the farmers.
Let me take you back to that point. You just say that when you're planting crops, you remove the first soil.
Yes.
You put in the seed.
Yes.
Then you return the soil.
No. So you remove, if you're doing the things, so like if you're planting trees, bananas, you dig the first 1 foot. It has the nutrients. You put it on the side. Then you start digging now, depending on the fruit tree you're planting. Once you finish digging, you take that soil and the top soil, you put it inside the hole.
Let's talk about, let me talk about trees.
Yes.
These trees. So we are planting small trees.
Yes.
Can it apply in greenhouse?
No, depending on the crop.
So how do you support the greenhouse?
So if you dig the greenhouses, remember the greenhouses, most of the time you're just transplanting. So you're transplanting, a seedling is probably at most 4 inches or 5 inches, probably at tops. That one, you see, you don't need to dig the hole. That one, you just put the hole. So that one is within the 12 inches of the soil structure, which again, that is already healthy.
Okay.
So in a greenhouse, you don't need to dig the holes unless you want to do fruit trees, but it wouldn't make sense to do fruit trees in a greenhouse. Yeah.
What are some of the agricultural activities that you feel can affect the ecosystem?
Wow. Can I surprise you? Almost every agricultural activity, if not done and practiced well. For example, and I go back again, when you're planting trees, when you want to start a farm, number one, bush clearing. Just the way you are clearing the bush. Let me tell you a story. Now, there's a time I went to, when I was opening a farm, one of my farms. I went and I cleared everything. Everything. I don't even think there was a plant standing, because I assumed that I need to. I should not have any shed in the farm.
Oh.
So imagine clearing.
You assumed.
I assumed. Okay. I was still new. I was still new in farming. And then I didn't. There's nobody who came and told me, my friend, don't do that. So I cleared everything. Now I had to start planting, and there's nothing difficult like planting and growing a tree.
Yes.
It is one of the hardest things, unless you're there keenly, constantly watching and making sure watering is being done, addition of application of manure is being done. The weather doesn't favor new trees, by the way, so that's a challenge.
The trees may end up burning.
Yes, so there's a lot of pollution. So there's how I suffered later on is that since I had cut all the trees, what happened when the winds came, they blew the greenhouses because there's nothing stopping them.
Yeah.
So all of it. So that's number one, bush clearing, even for new farmers. The other one, as I said earlier, is plowing. So if you're using a tractor every season, you are messing this ecosystem. Remember, the ecosystem starts from under the soil. I mean, ecosystem can even start under the ocean because they're living things that are there, So plowing, I don't say don't plow. I am a strong believer of not really zero, but minimum tillage. Using a tractor not so often. Yeah.
Actually, on the point of tillage, do you realize that nowadays there are so many machines that you'll use on the farm for plowing?
Yes.
Spraying the seeds.
Yes.
Covering.
Yes. Even the paper that you cover on top as mulching.
You just use the machine.
Yes. But again, that on its own, if you're looking at the carbon emissions standards, you realize that even that fuel you use in those machines might be damaging the ecosystem. So that's what I was
On the
saying.
air.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying. The whole ecosystem is affected by agricultural practices. So and there are things that farmers can do, which I think we'll get into that. The other thing is also overuse of or over reliance on synthetic fertilizers. That is something else. We are not saying that don't use. Yes, you need to use, because it's like complementing what you already have. But in essence, when you talk about synthetic fertilizers, then you need to make sure that they are serving a certain purpose. For example, medicine. Medicine is not bad, but if you just go to the shelf and take medicine, I mean, just because you assume it is the stomach, stomach problem. Sorry,
Yeah.
you know,
You'll never understand what you're treating.
exactly, because now you'll be taking the right medicine for the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I remember there's a time I went and bought fertilizer. There's a very good friend of mine. It's called Amanda. I love to. Ndakuona Amanda kidogo. So what happened is he asked me, why are you always coming to buy fertilizer here? So number one, I looked at him. I wondered why is he asking me such a question? Then he told me, no, I want you to come the day that you're not in a hurry, because I always used to go there when I'm in a hurry. I need to put fertilizer and stuff. So I went there on a Sunday afternoon, and he explained to me, took me through why it is important to understand what you're applying. So we are not saying don't apply synthetic fertilizers. You can do, but however, understand what purpose is it serving. Like food, as much as you can eat ugali in the morning, chances are you'll not eat ugali in the morning, because what it did not serve the right purpose. Yeah. And again, when it comes to now application of fertilizer, it is very important. One mistake that farmers do is that they use fertilizer, as I've said, without even testing their soil. So you can imagine, even if somebody is your mother or your father or your brother or your sister and they're a doctor, even if you go and tell them these are my symptoms, they'll tell you, please go to the lab and get tested, so that they know for sure what is this. And sometimes they might even test they might test what you didn't. I mean, if you see, tell them your stomach is paining all the time, they might tell you, go and do, or your head is paining a lot. Then you're told to go and do a stomach test. Is there a stomach test?
Or you're told to go and do a blood test.
A blood test.
Yes.
To determine whatever is happening in your body, so that they check if it is a certain level, it's a virus or something, so that now they start treating that. The same with the soil test. So if you don't do a soil test, you are actually farming blindly, because you don't know what you don't have. So when you go to a supermarket to buy something, you do not go and buy what you have. Sindio, you buy what you don't have. Yeah. Or unless you're just adding something. But if you don't have sugar, okay, let me not say sugar. Sugar ni kwa maandamano. Let us say salt.
Yes. That's a salt ni kwa maandamano.
Kile ni yote. So if you say a certain thick commodity, you have bread, two loaves of bread at home, and no milk. There is no way you'll add bread. You will add milk. Yes. Sindio, you'll go and get milk. So the same with the soil. If you don't do the soil testing, you're doing a terrible injustice to your farm.
Let me ask you, when you compare the synthetic fertilizers and these fertilizers that are homemade,
organic,
like cow dung,
yes,
the organic ones, which ones are the best as a farmer?
As a farmer, I'll tell you both, because they serve different purposes. That's the next thing I want to mention. The manure and the rest, they serve a certain purpose. So the manure that we have at home is like what? It's like ugali. Okay, let me start again. So the manure that we have is a soil conditioner. So now the way you go and wash your hair with shampoo.
Yeah.
Why don't you wash your hair with conditioner? Because it serves a certain purpose. Yeah. So the same with manure and the rest. So manure, it conditions the soil. So if you have black cotton soil, what manure does, it helps loosen the soil so that roots can penetrate, water can penetrate, nutrients. When water and when water is able to penetrate and the roots are also penetrating, it means that the plant is growing and it's also looking and getting nutrients. And then if it's in red soil, it helps compact, because then the manure mixes with the red soil and now compact, because red soil is loose. So that serves that purpose. It serves the purpose, and it is a slow release. So it means that even if you put up manure today and you plant tomorrow, chances are the next crop is what will use that manure, because it has to really decompose, get the harmful bacteria in it, then build on it and give the plant give the plant what is it called, the nutrients they require. The synthetic fertilizers also come in because they serve a certain purpose. However, you need to understand what purpose. And what purpose is, what I mean by that is that you don't just say, oh, planting, I need phosphorus, I need DAP, I need depending on DAP. Mchanga wako haijakwambia, probably your soil is high in phosphorus. So probably you can start even with nitrogen. Because if it's high in phosphorus, uko na mkati 3 kwa nyumba, unaongeza ya 3 kwa nini? Hata ama bei imeshuka. So you see, when you look at that, there's already an injustice that we as farmers ourselves do. Yes.
Let me take you back a bit. When I compare, okay, this is slightly outside the topic. When I compare back then, we didn't have these synthetic fertilizers.
Lakini nasema back then ni kama ni kitambo.
Ni kitambo. We didn't have kitambo. The days of our grandmothers and grandfathers, we didn't have synthetic fertilizers, and they used to use the organic fertilizer, manure, and it used to work. What happened?
So again, we have to put the context in which we are in now. For them, they were not. You would never. I don't know. I never saw my grandmother harvesting and going to sell. So most of it, they were doing it for subsistence. Yeah, which was also good because they didn't miss food. For us, we're doing commercial. So commercial means that you're putting a lot of pressure on the soil. Remember them, they would plant once a year.
Yes.
But as we want to plant twice or thrice a year. Okay? So what happens is over time, the nutrients levels in our soils have been depleted. And then nobody's advising us on what to do to re-energize or regenerate our soils. Meaning, if you plant maize, then the next crop should not be maize or onions. It should be something like beans or kunde, because then you need to fix the nitrogen back in the soil. So if you plant maize this season, next season you plant maize, then you need to top up the nutrients that have been depleted. So you need to use extra fertilizer. And that's why you find in the regions where it's we call them the bread baskets of Kenya, those are the challenges. Because they plant maize every season. So you move from 10 bags of maize to 7, then to 5 or to 10 bags, instead of the optimum, which is 40 bags. Yeah.
What you've talked about has just made me realize that this mandamano is necessary.
Why?
Because you never see your grandmother plant to sell, harvest to sell.
Yes.
Right now we have to look for money. Now you have to pressurize the soil. So
exactly. Yeah, because
so
in fact, for me, I say, if you would make sure that there's food in the homestead, which that is what used to happen, then the excess that you have, for example, apart from the majivu, the ash that you can borrow, you can borrow your neighbor, what you can do is that, and that one I saw even my grandmother, even my mother do. If we had excess maize, we would exchange that maize with beans from a neighbor, because probably them they planted beans. But where we are now, you tell people if you go to an agrovet, you'll just know what people have planted. Because if you ask for maize seeds, everybody has. It's like we're copying each other, forgetting that we will 3 months from now tutakula, and you cannot say. Let me tell you, hakuna kitu mbaya kama kula mahindi imechemshwa peke yake, ile ingekuwa na mgidheri.
So it has a very bad name in my native language.
Exactly. And we imagine that mahindi is become hard for githeri, then you're eating. Hey. Hapo ndio unaona nini blood test ya kupima tumbo. So you have to weigh. And then so when it comes to subsistence, so you just plant 3 maize cobs hapo nje kwako na nini. See, you don't need fertilizer. Alafu you are throwing all the waste from the kitchen there.
Yeah.
So that means you are regenerating that soil.
Yeah.
Lakini hii unaenda kuweka 3 acres ya mahindi kavu hivi, na mahindi inaangalia hivi, kuna wadudu inakuja inakula. Ask yourself, we never used to have the pests. Even the smell of tomatoes zamani used to smell like a tomato. Siku hizi unakula nyanya hivi unameza madawa.
I don't know why people believe so much that when you plant like 3 acres, even if you plant that tomato, that nyanya, utapata kwa soko people are just saying hizi zimedungwa dawa.
Yes, because it's not easy to maintain a crop with the prevailing conditions. And the conditions are not political. The conditions are basically natural. Because if it's a pest, there's nobody who can bring a pest to your farm. Just let me tell you a story. Kuna wakati there's a time I was planting tomatoes. And then somebody says, you know, if you bring some people to their farm, when they go with the flowers.
Where are they taking the
you know, it's just funny. But what the essence was, like, when your crop is at a certain stage, it does not need infections. You know, sometimes somebody can come from another farm and carry a fungal disease or something like that, and then when it comes, it gets into contact with your crops. But it's not yet Yetabilba maua. It means that probably things like botrytis can affect, so it drops flowers. It's a natural process. Yeah.
They behave like bees.
Yeah.
One plant to another.
Yeah, exactly. So you see now, when I'm saying that, when it comes to, that's why and then the population is less. You know, we're talking about our grandmothers who probably at most were like, even if they had 20 children, my grandmother,
even if they had.
My grandmother had 18 kids. 20, Cindy. Now these 20, each of them has 5. So you're talking about 100. So there's no way subsistence farming can work. It's impossible. However, there are things that farmers can still do. Another challenge to the ecosystem, agriculture bringing a lot of pressure on the ecosystem, is lack of extension services. So extension services would come in a way to inform farmers. Let us work on a platform, or rather, even if it's just a book. You know, platform sounds like technical. A book, you write to say, this season we've planted this. This is the acreage. This is what you've used. This is the outcome we expect. So if we don't get where did we go wrong? Okay. Then we've planted maize. So let us plan, when you're mid crop of the maize, let us plan for the next crop. So the next crop cannot be maize. The next crop can only be things like beans, you know, the legumes. So that these legumes, as much as you will not harvest so many, you will have Kizungu imekiingia katikati. So you will have regenerated your soil to some extent, because you've brought back the nutrients. Something like nitrogen fixation has gone back, because maize, as it is growing, it is green. So when it's green like that, it shows that the nitrogen levels that are being depleted from the soil are very high. So if you remove maize, you can do onions. However, the nitrogen of onions, remember, onions and maize belong to the same grass family. So they are competing with the nutrients, the nitrogen levels that were taken up by maize is what the onions did. So you recover. So then you have to go and use extra fertilizer to recover. Lakini, it is like, for example, not being able to sleep, not sleeping, umekesha, alafu asubuhi unakunywa Red Bull. Itabidi kunywa Red Bull, ndio? But you'll still have to sleep to regain your energy to be effective the next day.
Your examples.
No, it's true. You know, I normally say this: farming is reality. It's just that now those people who hold that information about farming, wameshikilia ni kama sijui ni katiba. It is free, you know, and that's why I say soil health is important. Soil health is very important. It is paramount for you as a farmer. If you want to do agribusiness, in fact, I normally tell farmers, if you want to do agribusiness and you've never tested your soil, change your career. Fanya vitu ingine. Because even when you want to start a business, Mary, so unaangalia position. Kuna inagonga 4 P's. Inagonga 4 P's of marketing. Place is the location. In fact, it starts with place.
Yeah.
So your place, your soil yako. So you want to test and see, is this place ideal for this shop? Is it ideal? Is it will the price with which I want to sell these things to at rather will people buy? Do people within this area, can they afford this price? Ama do I bring another product? It will inform you of so many things. So the soil informs you of what nutrients are available, which crops do well, what is the weather conditions around that area that can support that. Remember, you can get black cotton soil in Kitengela and black cotton soil in Limuru. But since the weather there is cooler, there are some crops that can do well there. Here, since it is hot, there are some crops that can do very well here. Ukiniambia umeshaivuna machungwa Limuru, takufukuza nayo. Sababu itakuwa kali. Because it needs flowers, the flowers need a lot of what is it called? A lot of sun,
Yes.
so that it's even tasty. The sun also changes the weather changes the taste of
The
fruit.
taste of fruit.
Yes. For example, a mango that is planted in Kitui and a mango that is planted in Kakamega, one will become orange,
Yes.
one will become yellow, even the color. Yes. And why soil health is also important is it also determines our human body. Just the way you eat. So unakula chakula balanced diet, sometimes unakula machungwa. Sometimes you might be craving for an orange, but to the highest extent your body actually needs vitamin D. You get? The same with the soil. Whatever you give the soil is what it gives you back.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question on behalf of the people that come from the same place as I come from.
Yes.
I come from a place where they believe that no crop can do well there.
Oh really? That must be Nyanza.
Yeah. Unachoma. I think we even got to a point that we stopped farming. Our shambas are just there.
Yes.
Because we believe that nothing can happen there. What can you tell us? Give us a solution.
I think that is the biggest lie that we're told. Yes. Biggest lie, because if people are growing food in water, aquaponics, hydroponics, sasa mchanga uko nayo.
Help my family.
So basically, I think what the most important thing, again, as I've said, testing of the soil should actually be a mandate of county governments, because agriculture has evolved.
Yes.
It should be a mandate that since that extension officers mandate that the mandate should be to make sure that each farmer within every 3 years have tested the soil. Because how do you offer extension services and you've not tested that farmer's soil? It's like a doctor who comes and treats you and didn't do a blood test. Or even worst case scenario, you've gone to theater and they didn't test your blood, and not even just the whole blood. They didn't test your white blood cells. They didn't test your red, they're called red blood cells. They call those platelets. So they didn't test and see, first of all, what is your clotting ratio? As in, can your skin or blood components clot faster? So that in case of cutway, you'll not continue having excessive bleeding. So you have to be tested all those things. That's why unaambiwa usikule chakula. Because when you eat you eat food, hawezi ambia mtu akule chakula kidogo. My friend. Anaweza kula more, it also alters their blood sugar levels. You see, all those things play. So if all these things are being done, can I surprise you? Even constructing a house, you have to test the soil. You have to test soil because it has to hold. You have to understand.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
It can rain until
exactly.
Najipata the house is
Hey, imebebwa. Imagine umelala hivi alafu unashangaa, hey, kwani mnasonga? You get. So if all those things are being done, even let me surprise you, even drilling a borehole.
You have to test the soil.
It has to the water, the test, the guy has to do and survey and see where should I. Imagine unataka borehole unaambia watu hebu chimba pale.
Utachimba na utapata
maji. So if all those things require this testing, I mean, then it means that we need also to make sure that farmers are sensitized, because that is the beginning of success or failure. In fact, there's a friend of mine who is also the MD at Crop Nutrition Laboratory Services. And one of the things that he is really sensitizing is the importance, and they've done this test before. They've actually made sure that you are, that the soil mapping has to be done really well. So they've tried their best. But I don't understand why we should give people fertilizer. Farmers should be given subsidized fertilizer, and they've not tested their soil. Yeah. It doesn't make sense. For me, it doesn't make sense at all. If you are to give someone a gift, please, if Mary, if you are to give someone a gift, make sure it is a gift they will use. Don't give them a gift that you like. It is not yours, it is theirs. Yeah. I tell you, I'm a farmer. Please give me a pickup. Not that I don't want a bicycle. A bicycle, I will need it when I want to lose weight.
Yeah.
But give me a pickup. Or, if it's a farmer, tell them, have you tested your soil? Afadhali utumie shilingi 2,000, 3,000 badala kupatia wakulima discount ya shilingi 3,000 kwa fertilizer.
So you're trying to tell the government that they should first help the citizens test the soil first, then they give them the fertilizer.
Sindio. I mean, when you give someone fertilizer, number one, Mary, they don't even know how to use it. They don't know when to use it. And they also don't know when not to use it. So utasikia mtu anasema niko na mbolea kwa store. Weka leta tuweke. You get? Yeah. So they don't know at what stage, how do I need to prepare my land and where do I put fertilizer? I see some farmers planting maize and they put fertilizer at the same time. So wengine vile wajaweka vizuri inachoma mbegu. And when they do it, then you realize then also the watering was not done enough. So what suffers is the seed.
Do you know why I'm laughing? That is exactly what we do.
Alafu nasema mchanga si yenu. That's what I'm saying. It has to serve a purpose. It is assumed that you have to plant and put fertilizer. Who told you? It's like when you go to hospital and then someone tells you, you need to take Piriton. They have not tested you. They have not even looked at you. They just assume Piriton helps something. Ama sele mtoto analia, unasema wacha tumpatie Piriton alale. Probably anaumwa na tumbo. Probably kuna kitu kingine. And you cannot observe some things and understand them. You cannot observe ati mchanga ni red. It's very fertile. Who told you?
I can see you have so many experiences. You need to tell us.
Nimechomeka my friend.
You need to tell us several experiences that you've gone through. You've passed through a lot as a farmer. Okay, at this point, I think we need to take a short commercial break.
Yeah, just tukunywe maji kidogo.
Tukunywe maji kidogo. Our guests have so many experiences that he still needs to share more. We still take a short commercial break. We'll be back. Stay tuned. It's a struggle.
Have you felt that the climate has been changing? Perhaps the dry season seems hotter. The rains are too late, or too early, too little, or don't come at all.
You see more pests and diseases on your shamba. All of this can lead to less yields.
By managing your water and soil, you can ensure that your shamba is still productive. This could be as simple as harvesting water from your roofs, investing in solar irrigation, and practicing conservation agriculture such as mulching, crop rotation, and minimum tillage.
Trees are also a part of smart farming and can help you make your farm cooler, keep your soils intact and healthy. Planting fodder crops and turning grasses into hay or silage is another smart way of adapting.
But be aware that even with smart farming, some things will remain out of your control. That's why it's a good idea to think about insurance, as this can cover you from these unforeseen events.
Good soil and water management along with planting trees and pest and disease control, can also help you increase your yields and income as the climate changes.
Yes, we've produced the elephant repellent. There's a lot.
I haven't seen this one.
You're going to get in.
Have you felt that the climate has been changing? Perhaps the dry season seems hotter. The rains are too late, or too early, too little, or don't come at all.
You're seeing more pests and diseases on your shamba. All of these can lead to less yields.
By managing your water and soil, you can ensure that your shamba is still productive. This could be as simple as harvesting water from your roofs, investing in solar irrigation, and practicing conservation agriculture such as mulching, crop rotation, and minimum tillage.
Trees are also a part of smart farming and can help you make your farm cooler, keep your soils intact and healthy. Planting fodder crops and turning grasses into hay or silage is another smart way of adapting.
But be aware that even with smart farming, some things will remain out of your control. That's why it's a good idea to think about insurance, as this can cover you from these unforeseen events.
Good soil and water management, along with planting trees and pest and disease control, can also help you increase your yields and income as the climate changes. The heart of any shamba lies in its soil. Because soil is so precious, it needs to be managed really carefully. A good place to start is with a soil test. This will tell you how healthy your soil is, its pH levels, what type of soil it is, which crops you can grow in your soil, and advice on which fertilizer is best to use. If you follow the soil test recommendations, it can boost your yields. So, how do you take a soil test sample? Firstly, dig up soil samples. Use a soil auger or panga to take a sample 1 feet deep in a zigzag pattern across your shamba. You will need at least 10 samples. Mix all the different samples together in a bucket. The soil is now ready to be scanned and tested. You can find out about how to get your soil tested by contacting your extension officer. Alternatively, contact a Ministry of Agriculture research station near you. A soil test costs about as much as 1 bag of maize. You should do a soil test at least every 3 to 5 years.
Karibu nimwite mheshimiwa.
Hapana. Unaiona inaendelea kwa hivi.
Only no one is here, still having him here. I can see you have so many comments. I can see Mary Nashoro is telling us well explained on the best planting method for fruit trees. I put a little DAP in the hole on the side. Thank you so much, Mary. You've done a good job.
Mary is a farmer in Kilifi. Yes.
Okay.
Kilifi County, yes.
Oh.
And we owe her something anyway.
So Kilifi is in.
Yeah.
I can see Titus Olole Sitelu
Yes.
telling us this is a good topic. Most farmers lose much produce because of the post-harvest practices.
Exactly.
Titus Olole, he's the same person still telling us watching. Continue commenting. We are still here with you to educate you more. Noah.
Yep.
I told you have so many experiences that you still have to share with us.
Also, I can see a comment here, but we're just waiting for the producer to show us back. So the Mohdar Mohammed. Mohdar is a very interesting guy. I've used a foliar fertilizer that he makes. It actually comes from seaweed. Yes.
Seaweed.
Yes, from deep in the sea. Anyway, I know he can put in the comment section there.
The hyacinth.
Hapana. Sasa sijui. Unajua sasa kila mtu kuna trade yake. Yeah, but it's a very interesting thing. I think he'll put in the comment section and then we'll talk about it. Yes. Hii ukulima imenionyesha vituko bana.
We've talked about so many negative
Yes,
ones.
yes.
I want us to jump into the positive ones now.
Good,
You
good,
can
good.
explain to us the positive ones because you're an experienced farmer.
Yes. So there are very many positives. Very many positives.
The one I wanted to to start with is a very funny one.
Yeah.
It creates employment. The deforestation
Exactly.
part. Just pay someone.
Anakata miti.
Kazi. You pay the person.
So deforestation is there's a win and a loss.
Yeah.
There's a win and a loss. They say kata mti moja panda mbili. Sasa shida niyo mbili haipandwi. Ama tukipanda we're not taking care. You know, there's planting and taking care of a crop or a tree. But there are very many positives, and that's why I said when it comes to affecting the ecosystem, it does in both ways. But also, when you talk about carbon emissions, I normally beg to differ with the organizations that are doing this because these carbon climate-based discussions are being discussed at really high levels, and they are discussing part and parcel of the discussions is the smallholder farmers who form 80% of the world in terms of, especially in the global south, in terms of production of food. But you see, there are so many things that we already do. For example, I think most farmers do mulching.
Yeah.
And you see what mulching does, Mary, that it retains the moisture of the soil. And when it retains moisture of the soil, it means then the bacteria that is in soil is okay. It also maintains the coolness of the soil, and that means that then you use less water for your farming activities because the area is cool. So mulching is a very simple one that we do, but sometimes we only do it in the nursery, then tukipeleka kitu kwa shamba we don't take care. So mulching is something that I've seen so many farmers doing. The other thing that I've seen farmers doing, and one of our friends here is called Thomas Opondo. Thomas Opondo is a believer, a motivator, and a practitioner of conservation agriculture. And that one is something that is very simple. For example, if you're planting maize, why do you have to bring a tractor? I mean, it's like, and maize you just chop and drop. You just need a hole like this to plant maize, you know. So that is something else that I've seen that that farmers are doing: conservation agriculture, reducing. I'll not say really zero, but I'll say minimum tillage. Why I'm saying minimum tillage is because you don't have to plow the land throughout, but sometimes it's important when you have to now, like, to avoid things like compacting the soil, getting compacted below the 15 centimeters to 1 foot, 2 feet, so that it's aerated. So I'm not saying don't use. If you're doing it, use it, but you really minimum. The other thing that farmers are doing right is also a lot of what they're doing is that, for example, when you harvest your maize, you don't remove from the farm. You just leave it to rot there. Yeah. You are just regenerating the soil. It means that the nutrients that are still there remain in the soil. However, when you do this, then you have to do it in a very careful way, so that you also, the next crop that comes is not affected by the root formation of this one. For example, if you cut your maize and then you plant watermelon, then by the time the watermelon lands on a maize, the roots like this, it deforms that watermelon. So that's something else that you also look at. There are so many other activities. The other activities, so I will just say this because it happens. and tuliambiwa hapa you put ash.
Yeah.
So so the other thing that farmers don't that do right is avoiding to burn the residues of the previous crop, because when you burn, it means that all the harmful bacteria, all the microbes that were there get lost. So when you don't burn, then it means that then you're preserving them to help the next crop. So if you had beans, if you burn the residue, where I come from, we have a French word, it's called monyu mushareha. So
Is that a French word?
Yes, it's a French word. It's called monyu mushareha. So monyu mushareha is actually what is it called? The beans, the cover of after you've harvested the beans. So there's the covers of the beans. You burn them somewhere, and then now you put water in it in a tin that has holes. So that water is what you use now to cook vegetables. Yes. So now you know.
Yeah.
Yes. How do you call it in your French? Yeah.
In my French, it's funny. Call it tuto. I know.
Well, let's stick to English. French that. So you see, so that is another activity. The other activity is water management. When you manage your water well by using things like drip irrigation, let me tell you something. It's not that you're doing something for the world. It just means that you are a climate smart agricultural practitioner. Simple. And if you're a climate smart agriculture practitioner, you are wise. Because then you are adopting to the changing climatic conditions that enable you then to improve your soil, manage your water well. When you manage your water, your soil well, you get good yields. When you get good yields, then it's not automatic, but at least you are ahead of getting money in the pocket. When you have money in the pocket, then you can do some things. But if you don't take care of your soil, you don't take care of your water management. Aye.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
And usiseme ni uchawi. Because on the ash one you said
sikusema. Yes.
When you look at, when you're burying someone, like when there's a funeral, then you bury someone with them changa.
Yes.
The normal soil. In a shamba. And then you go and plant on that shamba.
Yes.
Maybe upate kama the grave is already flat. I don't know if you've ever realized that when you plant maize or any other plant there,
it does very well.
It does very well. What's the relationship between the grave and the soil?
There's no relation. Basically, you dug, sindio? Vile umechimba shimo. Umeweka mchanga hivi. Mchanga kurudi ni gani? Si ile ilitoka mwisho. So ukirudisha, you've just returned the topsoil there. See, that topsoil is what we're talking about that is healthy. So there's no relation between that.
My Lopin's people. I think you've heard.
Henry Lopin. I don't know Stephanie. Yeah, Stephanie, how are you? Yeah. So I think it's a very important thing, and that's why I think I took up that responsibility of being Africa's soil health ambassador. Because let me tell you, Mary, whatever you do, whatever food you eat, whatever number of Red Bulls you drink, kama hujalala hujapata uzingizi, it is useless.
Yeah, it's useless.
Simple. By the way, some people crash just because of sleep. Yes. So the same thing when you go back now to the farming. Whatever you do I met Noah, he gave me this best fertilizer, naenda kuweka kwa shamba. Weka tu. Ingine weka tu. But if you didn't test your soil, you don't understand the soil structure of your farm. Hata upewe nini, ni utasema this farm is for sale because you're not getting anything out of it.
What about these people who have good soil? Like their soil is just fertile. The black soil, they just feel that they're so fertile. They already have the fertilizers themselves. Do they have to test? Or there is acidity in that type of soil also?
Let me tell you something. I wish Modar would be able to join, and he would explain to you that let me ask you, why is it that you are with a child in the house, anaanza kulia unampeleka hospitali?
Because you sense there's something wrong. Or-
But that child is very healthy.
Okay, another to kulia without any symptoms. But why are you taking to the hospital?
So, then why do you put fertilizer in the farm?
Because I want my crops to do well.
Who told you they cannot do well without fertilizer? You are the same one who said.
It's not tested. They can't do well.
Let me tell you something.
fertilizer.
Let me tell you something very critical. Yeah. The only way you can know if soil is healthy and it is fertile and it is good is by taking it to the lab. The only way you can know someone is healthy is by them going to the lab. Don't see at Noah cycles 10 kilometers a day, Noah is fit and all that. Hapana. You have to go get soil tested.
What about those people who are in the interior, in the village? They don't have the labs.
That is why we ask, what is the mandate of extension officers? How are they helping you as a farmer and they've not helped you test your soil?
Is there a traditional way of testing the soil?
Some communities have different ways of doing it. But however, when you say testing the soil, I don't mean that you have to take it to the most expensive lab. No. There are also good agricultural activities that you can start with. Remember, we've talked about mulching. So it maintains the moisture. We've talked about planting legumes. It helps boost the nitrogen. It's a nitrogen fixation. Then we also look at basic things like, for example, putting eggshells on the farm. It helps in culture. There's some small things that we are not looking at.
Okay, when you talk about eggshells,
Yeah.
do you mean the eggshells zile za nyumbani ama the ones that you can buy? The eggshells that are bought.
Yeah, from where? Not like ash, like
They are pounded. They're like ash.
Yes, you can. If it has come from eggs, yes, because
Okay.
it has what? High calcium. Then also crop rotation.
Wait on that eggshell part.
Yes.
No.
Nimeenda
How
haraka.
many eggshells are you going to collect so that you put it on a 3-acre land?
You see, for example, and that's why I'm saying when you're doing agribusiness, then you have to make a decision. Why should you farm on 3 acres and you've not tested your soil? So farm on 1 acre and use that money to test your soil.
Okay.
What's the point of unaenda kununua supermarket, kufungua supermarket na ujui hiyo building kama iko na leakages, aujui hiyo building, hata ujui mwenye nyumba, aujui how the market around is. Why don't you open a smaller shop and use the other money to do your market survey?
Those are farmers who call themselves risk
No.
You don't
You know,
take risks.
You have to, as a farmer, you have to take a well calculated risk with knowledge. So knowledge means I have tested my soil, I have the right inputs. The risk you're taking is, will there be good market? That is the only risk that you should take as a farmer. Don't take a risk of planting seed in soil that you've not tested. What's the point? Unataka kutuonyesha nini? Because even how will you even know which variety to plant?
Yeah.
Because if it's tomatoes, does your soil have does the soil have a soil-borne disease? You don't know. So you just go and buy because you are passionate.
You're a passionate farmer.
Hata nikwambie passion imenionyesha vituko. Niliacha mambo ya passion. Let me tell you, passion. You have to make, and that's why I say, and I keep on insisting, you have to be a climate smart farmer. And when you're a climate smart farmer, it's very, very simple things. Soil quality, check. You're not, but then being smart, climate smart, you're not even looking at seed variety, Bado. You're just looking at soil quality, check. Water management, check. Fertility and fertilizer application, manure application, check. Weather condition, check. Then with all this constant, then you say, let me try cabbage. You get? Let me try this. Because you have the baseline. You have the basic thing that you said, fine. Yeah.
When you talk about weather condition, the weather conditions do change.
So that again, when I talk about weather conditions, I mean this crop will take 3 months. Have you done an analysis and said between this month and this month, this will be the weather condition? So that you're transforming yourself from a producer to a business person. Hapa tunaongea mambo ya agribusiness. Hiyo ya passion tulitoka huko.
Let me keep my village mentality for myself. I'm about to embarrass people here.
Embarrassing is learning. Because you see, for example, we have holidays. We have these holidays, end of year, we have holidays. If we imagine somebody who is having a business. Farmers, my friends, you have to think like business. No, not the other things. Not passion. Everybody has passion. Let me tell you, everybody wants to be a farmer. You stand out when you make the difference.
Yeah.
You stand out when you make the difference. So let me tell you, if you imagine someone who is selling clothes. Yeah? Have you ever seen a sale of clothes in January?
Maybe uniforms.
Have you ever had uniforms being sold in December?
December, people are buying new clothes for Christmas.
Sasa now ask yourself, this person ameleta new clothes in January. My friend, he has to wait for 360 days. Not even 330 days. Not even 36. Because it's only 1 week that some people will buy those clothes.
People will start buying them maybe on 23rd.
Exactly. So don't say that I have money, I'll bring a container of clothes in January.
Let me tell you my story. I started doing a business of shoes. And then I decided that it's December. Parents have money. Now I'll go get shoes, school shoes, and sell them on December. Because at that time they have money, they buy them for January.
It's called banning.
My shoes.
How good your holiday? It was the longest holiday.
That holiday was a bad one. Even on that January, they didn't even buy the shoes. The children were just going to school barefoot. That was a bad business.
That is why I'm saying, you cannot tell me you want to start farming on 3 acres. Let me tell you, even 1 acre, and you don't test your soil. Yeah. It is better to spend the money for 1/4 of an acre or an eighth, because it's very little money, by the way, testing soil. Then you farm on 3/4 of an acre. Because you'll be making a business decision, knowing the money that I've sacrificed here goes into my cost of production, and I will be able to boost it more so that it covers that 1/4 of an acre. And you have these results for almost 3 years. It's like going to a hospital and then say, okay, now you can go to hospital and you don't have money. And the doctor says, hey, this one we have to go to the lab. You tell the doctor, my friend, you give me medicine.
Just prescribe.
That doctor will not. Because they know the danger that is there. Tumesikia, if you want to construct a house, you test your soil. If you want to drill a borehole, you test the water quality, and you also check where. If you want to, even a dentist will come and knock your teeth like this. They'll not just come and remove. In fact, if you just imagine, you are in very bad pain. The day I had a very bad toothache. I went to the dentist. I told the dentist, please remove this tooth now. The guy told me, I can't remove your tooth if it is paining. You have to go take these antibiotics for 5 days. The best I can do is give you a painkiller. Until that pain gets finished, then you come and remove. You can imagine the way a tooth can pain, can ache. So you see, so that one they've already. So why is it that farmers, you go to the agrovet and say, I want this, and they give you. I want this fertilizer. In fact, fertilizer sales should be based on soil test. The soil test. Soil test should be a prescription. It is better to test soil and not understand. You give them and tell them, please explain this for me.
I was about to ask you that, because you're really giving us an example of when you go to the doctor.
Yes.
All that. Why is it? I was about to ask you, why is it that when you go to buy the fertilizer,
yes,
they don't ask if you tested the soil?
Because I don't know why they don't, but you see, it's not a mandate. We don't even have an agricultural Association of Kenya. We have Agrochemicals Association of Kenya. But all these other bodies, architects have their body. Plumbers wako na body yao kweli? Plumbers don't have, but the engineers are there. So plumbers act under engineers. We have pharmacists there. We have electricals come under engineers. So we have all these other bodies. But farming, which is something very sensitive, we don't have a regulatory body to know that this is a registered. It's even a chemist ikifunguliwa that looks fake. These guys will come and check.
Yes.
So I think it should be a mandate that and one way of when you do that, then what happens is even soil mapping becomes easy because these guys take a picture of it and store so that they know that now slowly by slowly you start getting the soil mapping. And I think soil testing companies should actually be should be charged less taxation because eventually they're going to make sure that then we have a soil map of the country. So which fertilizer do you need? Me, I hear that, this country has donated fertilizer, 25,000 bags. Based on what?
Let me ask you something. I want you to look at this scenario. There's a factory. It's something that is in Kenya. There's a factory. There's a water body next to it. Then you'll get farmers farming somewhere there. So they'll be using this water to water their crops.
Yes, and we will eat it.
Yes. In that case, will this water affect the soil?
Automatically, depending on what factory it is. Depending on what factory it is and what is being emitted from the factory. Number one, it might not be harmful to the soil, but might be harmful in consumption.
Oh.
Yes, because if you pour, can you drink Omo?
No.
But sometimes farmers spray Omo on maize so that you don't get fallen. No. You get the scenario. Okay, me, I've never had somebody got sick because of drinking Omo. So but when it comes to a certain pesticide, you'll find farmers will spray.
Yes.
Okay, so we need that, and again, it goes into asking ourselves, how do you know if it will contaminate your soil?
You have to test. The soil.
Yes, but also we have law and law enforcing bodies where now if you have a factory near a farm, then first of all there's environmental whatever they do to determine whether that factory, unless these farmers came and found the industry there of the factory.
Okay. So you have to test the soil once your farm is next to a water body.
Depending, if you came and found it there, then you need to test so that you know if there are heavy metals that are being emitted as part of the emission coming from the soil, then you know what to do or to avoid. So if the water body, the river is flowing this way, why don't you farm this other side?
Okay, apart from soil testing, what else can farmers do to avoid being affected? To avoid for their farms not to be affected?
So now I go back to the climate smart agricultural practices. Long time we used to call them good agricultural practices, but now things have changed. Now it's about climate. So first thing is to understand what is the area that I am in. Okay, first of all, you tune into a farmer's media to get some of this knowledge. So the next thing is now follow the instructions. Or anyway. So those other activities, number one, when you test your soil, everything else falls in place. By the way, everything else falls in place because you will know how much manure to use, what kind of fertilizer to use, when to use, because the recommendations, but also don't just test soil anywhere. Go to crop nutrition laboratory services and test, because you get recommendations on pre-planting or so pre-planting activities could be now land preparation, what to put, is it lime, is it gypsum, whatever it is you put first. It will tell you how much manure you need if you want X yield. It will tell you during planting what to put. It will tell you during growing of the crop, but vegetative you need to put this. Just before harvesting you need to put this. Then you automatically as a farmer you will know then if I have a good crop, then my post-harvest management practices have to be top notch.
Let's talk about soil erosion.
Mhm.
When you look at some farms,
Mhm.
when it rains,
Yes.
the rain kuna venye it sweeps
Mhm.
the
soil, the topsoil.
Yeah, the topsoil.
Yes.
What do you do when you have such a shamba? Like it has rained, your topsoil has gone, you planted, definitely your crops will just die.
Yes,
Now,
definitely. So when your land is sloppy, which I think one of the things we'll do is that we'll share in the comment section. There's a very good video from Sprout Learning on farming on contours. So you need to create the contours so that it's like steps. You see, going down a slopey area, you might slide.
Yeah.
Just the same way the way water slides. Yeah. I mean, they'll slide. It goes down. It's taken up by soil erosion. Yeah. So, but when you do the steps, then it holds here.
The moment it holds there, it's not going back.
It can't go back.
Ah.
No, it holds there. So if you do the contours and you do them properly, automatically you lose that. So if you cannot also do contours, what I have done in the past in my farm is that I have planted fruit trees. So I could do after every certain stage, so that even if water comes, it doesn't come with the. You see, it only goes as fast as the slope. But if it knows it will reach here, it won't go as fast. So on the top part of the farm, you do some fruit trees, some bananas, stuff like that, or you build a trench, and then you do trenches in bit until the last bit. And then on the trenches, don't just leave the trenches open. You do what you can plant fruit trees, you can plant things like sugarcane. Not that you'll harvest, not that you'll harvest sugarcane and make sugar. And then so you do but doing the contours is the best. And I think there's a video that we'll share about doing the contours if you have a farm that is slopey.
Can you plant any type of crop on a slopey area?
It is. I think I will reverse that, but I'll reverse that back to you. Can you start a business anywhere?
No, I can't.
Why?
Okay, first of all, I'll have to look at the market. Yes, there's no way I can take fish and then I go and sell it in Kikuyu.
Yeah, but these days they eat. But anyway, yes.
Not most of them.
Exactly.
I won't make good money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or pumpkin in Lodwa in Marsabit. They won't eat. Okay. So that question is there is an yes and no. Yes, anything can grow anywhere. The only thing you need to do is to test your soil.
I think our hashtag of today should be
test your soil.
That should be our main hashtag of today.
Yes.
Everything is about testing the soil. After you've tested the soil, everything falls into place.
Everything will fall into place. Without a doubt. Yes.
Okay. You say that you also plant fruit trees.
Yes. So you do fruit trees because first when the water comes, it stops.
Why not these other trees?
I mean, fruit trees is like money. So you'll have something. But now you plant gravelia unless you're planning to cut it.
Since people buy the trees.
But you see,
food.
Yes, but the amount of money that you will get from gravelia tree versus an orange tree, and you're not cutting it.
No, wait a minute. Let us just compare the normal trees and these fruit trees. You'll harvest oranges. Then
so
where will the tree go to?
The tree will remain there. You can harvest oranges for even 30 years.
You can harvest oranges for 30 years?
Yes.
Okay, yes. I've never known that.
You can harvest oranges for as long. I know of an orange tree somewhere that has been well taken care of so well. This is the 16th year and it is still, when it's time, it's, with fruit trees. Hey, in fact, there's another video again also about agroforestry. And you see, those are the things that we are not, and that's what I'm saying, the holders of that information wameishikilia kama katiba. When you go to a lawyer, he starts with a certain funny English and he's just telling you no. He'll tell you by this cap, this or this and this, instead of telling you no, this is what it says. Yeah. So you can harvest depending on the tree that you planted. You can harvest it for very long. It just needs you to understand when it is not under production, what do you need to do so that when it starts producing, you get better yields? Yes.
What are the best plants? What are the best crops? Do you say crops to plant next to a water body?
Test your soil.
Okay, I know she's just my soil.
So if the soil is optimum, good pH and stuff like that, then you take fruit trees that take in a lot of water. Again, don't plant trees that do not do well with a lot of water. Not all trees. For example, avocados don't need a lot of water. So in such a place, you can plant things like nduma. You can plant bananas. You can so that it's something that you need a crop that takes in the water, processes it, and leaves. Not it leaves, it remains in the roots, then makes the roots damp.
Okay, at this point, I think I just want you to educate me. Maybe I'm the only one who doesn't know this. I see in my village.
Yes.
In my village, when you're planting bananas, you dig a very big hole.
3 by 3, yes. 3
Can you
feet
do-
by 3 feet.
Yes. Can you do that next to water body?
Well, it depends with the holding capacity of the soil. If you're there is the digging of the hole is not related to water.
How is it not related to the water? But yes, I feel like when you dig so deep, like
You're looking for water. Pana, you dig that because a banana will sprout on younger ones. And then also that's where you continue putting them and feeding the banana. It has nothing to do with water. Even in Kajiado here, we still do those big holes. Yes. And also when the water is put there, and then it retains a bit. But even if it's near a water body, what you just need to do is also you just observe what are the types of trees around. If an acacia tree, as big as it is, can be next to a river, Kiswahili inakuwa inasema sembuse nyanya. Yeah, so you see that's yeah. So you need to look at that. But again, also that is the role of also extension officers, because they tell you that this is where my farm is. You tell them this is where my farm is. If you get some that are available, they can come and observe. And so what they actually do is that they design the farm for you. You don't plant because you think when it's near a river. They say that the Holy Book says what? A tree that is planted next to a river does not dry. So, but which tree? So you don't do trees that require drier periods for them to produce. By the way, fruits will produce when it's dry, not when it is raining. When it is raining is when it's processing the food, the nutrients, and then it starts flowering. Yes.
Okay. When I talk about ecosystem, it involves living organisms.
Yes.
I believe we are part of the living organisms, and even the animals in the forest.
Yes.
Please expound for us how deforestation affects the living organisms.
Oof. Number one, just imagine that tree falling on the ground. All the microbes where that tree is gone. The cover, the shade that the leaves give to the just imagine when it's very hot and then you just pass through a shade.
I feel better.
That feeling is even better than drinking water.
Yes.
So you can imagine the microbes, the bacteria, the small pests, earthworms, and the rest that are under that tree that are regenerating the soil. And have you ever seen a place where trees have been cut and it flourishes?
No.
Now that's unique. I don't know if you want to ask the question again. So one of the things that's very critical. I still stand with them. If you have to cut trees, panda mili. Yeah. I have seedlings in my car almost every time. Why? Because I strongly believe that I made a terrible mistake to cut down trees when I was clearing the farm. So my guilt has pushed me that I have to plant trees every week. Taking care of them, but I'm trying. So we have to make sure that, first of all, tree planting is not a special activity that requires people to come. There's a ceremony. It should be
pictures.
Yes, it should be a standard thing. In fact, it should be so standard that any time an MP visits a place, kama ni kwa matanga wanapanda mti hapo kwanza. Kama ni kwa harusi wanapanda miti hapo kwanza. You are told afadhali you get gifts for these people, and part of the gifts that you're giving a newly married couple or whatever it is, kuja na miti 10.
Kumi.
Lakini sasa wapelekea after honeymoon. Wasiende wasahau miti ikauke. Okay? So that's the achievements in life. Plant a tree to remember an achievement in life. Yes. When you have visitors, tell them, by the way, when you're coming past through another place, bring for me seedlings. Tell them to plant. Okay, not everybody will plant. You can have some gloves.
At some point,
Yes.
you even chase the visitors if you keep on telling them. You keep on telling them to come with.
Or have
seedlings.
them because it helps. Remember, imagine you build a whole estate and then you start planting trees for shade. Yeah. And then there's a very interesting picture I've ever seen of a tree that has a very long shed, very big shed, and the whole chief's baraza is being held under that tree.
I think I've seen that picture.
See, so those are some of the things to look at because so the microbes, the things like, all these things play a certain role. For example, earthworms. Earthworms give us vermiliquid, which is still in the ground even if we don't know. So if you cut a tree, the skin of an earthworm is so soft that automatically it will burn. Have you ever seen an earthworm crossing the road? So just imagine how you cut down trees. However, there are times and situations when cutting down trees is important. And I think that is one of why the government, we had the other day that the government allowed cutting down of trees for timber business because probably the trees are causing damage. Probably the trees could earn more. However, I still believe if you cut down a tree, the best thing you need to do is also plant two.
Okay.
At a ton or even 5.
What about the burning bushes? Is it affecting the soil? It's increasing the manure? Burning the bushes. You see, definitely when you burn the bushes, there's ash. I don't know why I have a feeling ash can be fertilizer. I don't know if it's just my mentality. Or
Well, umetoka kwa ash ya nyanya for me. Let me tell you something. Anything you burn is burnt. I mean, sorry, unless it's nyama choma where you eat it. even onions that's burnt, how does it taste?
Okay.
The living matter is what matters because it is in that. Have you ever seen? Burning of any residue in the farm, even pepper, is not allowed by nature because you are going to harm more microbes, more things than leaving it there.
What about if you burn the covers? Okay, the residues after harvesting, then you take the ash.
Why?
It's not fertilizer.
But
it's not manure.
the waste can do. The waste, remember what it does? It provides shed for those microbes. The soil retains its moisture. Then what next? Those microbes feed on that dead matter.
Oh.
You see?
Okay.
So that's why you see, for example, cows after they've the place is done what? The place is what is it called? Is dry. You've harvested maize. See, hiyo inakatwa, it's cut for animals.
Yeah, for animals.
So why don't they burn it and then give the animals the ash? Yeah. Yeah, so and that's what I'm saying. The information that is available, it is basic information. Yes. Very basic information. But those ones who are holding it, have you ever walked into a lawyer's office? Kwanza anakuambia ndio andike tu barua 2 paragraphs. Taka shilingi 5,000. Ajui 5,000 ni fertilizer mzima. And he's just saying, no, we cannot do this. But ataandika na kizungu ingine that even you're the bearer of that letter.
You'll be looking at the paper and you're like, this man has worked.
So let's simplify this jargon of and the ecosystem brings in now basically our biodiversity. Our biodiversity is now everything in it. You can imagine there's actually World Food Day, World Soil Day, but there's also World Biodiversity Day. Meaning it is very critical, and it looks like probably there's a point to which to match here. Yes.
Okay, what about when you're clearing the bush?
Mhm.
Is that way you're affecting the ecosystem when you're clearing the bush? You're just clearing it, not deforestation.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So there are different ways you can do. Remember, I've not said that you don't need to cut trees, but deforestation means you're actually cutting down so many trees.
Without replacing.
Yes. So what you ask yourself, why do you need to cut the tree? Could you trim? Okay. Could you trim probably some branches and stuff like that? Because that's what happens in like fruit trees, that you trim the branches. Things like tea, like coffee, you trim the branches. I've seen even some farmers who are doing tea. They trim some branches. So ask yourself, do you need to cut down the tree? And why am I cutting down the tree? Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
I've seen tea farms.
Mhm.
The tea farms around Kericho.
Mhm.
You'll find
Now
that
tunajua pale unaendanga. Tuzae following your route. ya boss queen tulishafika. Tunangoja kujua ni nyumba gani.
you can never know where.
You'll just say, and we will know whether it's Awasi or this. And now we'll check.
You're still around Nyanza.
Uh-huh.
When you look at when you go to Kericho, you realize that there are farms that have healthy tea,
Yes.
and then there are burnt farms. I don't know why they burn them, but the next time you go there, you find that the burnt part have healthy plant.
Remember, they have not cut down and burnt.
They are just burning.
It is a process that they do. I'm not so familiar with tea, but sometimes because it's always covered, it must be a form of regenerating. It's like sugarcane. Sometimes you see sugarcane farms have been burnt. I'm not so familiar with that. We'll always look for an expert and
I
give
think
guidance on
sugarcane,
it.
the little that I know, sugarcane can take you can have sugarcane for up to 3 years or 4 years. You just cut, then you just be waiting. It grows again for 3 years.
Something has made people very. Anyway, yeah, but also there's some people who cut sugarcane because that's where I come from. Now, umeanza kuona pale na ndani. So that they harvested faster. Umechoka na mmea, so you want it to be to get ready for market. So that's another thing that also farmers do. However, I don't condone because it's also dangerous. Remember, biodiversity means every living thing. And remember, ukichoma si hiyo moshi inaenda mali. How healthy is that moshi?
It's not healthy.
Exactly.
But you haven't explained for us well on the bush clearing part.
So the bush clearing part, that's what I'm saying. It depends why you want to clear the bushes.
Okay.
Yes. So number one, if you want to clear the bushes because of farming, then you need to make sure that if you're saying not cutting down the trees.
Not cutting down the trees.
So you also
clearing
have
the
to
bush.
ask yourself which trees are on the farm. There must be a reason why you want to cut down. So let me ask that question. Why would you want to cut to clear bushes?
Maybe when you want to plant. Yeah.
So the clearing the bushes is nothing wrong. However, I still strongly believe then you also need to ask yourself, can I do cover crops? So cover crops, even if it's under shade, some cover crops will do well. Because the cooler the soil, the more productive it is. Hata wewe sasa unakimbia una sweat na nini umepigwa na tear gas hapo, you can't even think. So the same with the soil. The cooler the soil, the more productive it is.
Can you pick the fertile soil? Then you just go mix it in in a place where you've not tested. Just pick the tested ones, you go mix in a place where you've not tested, then you plant your crops. Will it work?
There's another book in the Bible, the Holy Book, it says, bad association spoils useful habits.
Which book?
1 Corinthians, iko hapo kwa kitabu 15:33. Bad association spoils useful habits. this soil that you're, how come it never says
Mhm.
good association improves bad habits? So even if this soil is good, where you're taking it, how sure are you it doesn't have soil-borne diseases? How sure are you the nutrients levels are low?
So your crops won't do well.
I'm not saying they will not do well.
Mm.
You need to, there must be a reason why you assume that this soil is healthy and this one is not, and you want to bring here. So what have you done?
You've tested this other one, but you haven't tested this one. That's what I'm talking about.
So let me ask you. Let me ask you. You test this soil,
Mm.
and then you take to this one that you've not tested. Why? What has informed you need to test to take it there?
Maybe this one didn't do well the last time you used it, so you're looking for a way of helping it
Which is cheaper, to get more soil or to test the soil?
to test the soil.
And then ask yourself, what can I do with this soil that is here? By the way, you don't have to grow tomatoes. Not all of us need to grow tomatoes or maize or beans. We can always grow something else, and then we can even exchange barter trade.
There are always seasons for growing different types of crops. You were just saying that when you go to get seeds, you realize you just know what people have planted.
Yes.
You find that there's no maize.
Yes.
Everybody has planted maize.
Yes.
So can you plant beans in a
Yes.
season of maize?
Yes.
Will it work?
It will work.
How?
You test your soil first, and then you'll know what to grow. Remember, planting maize does not mean you'll harvest maize.
But it's their season.
Are you sure you have enough knowledge on managing fall armyworm? Do you have enough resources for fertilizer for that beans? Remember, beans sometimes you don't even need fertilizer. How many bags are you guaranteed of getting? If you're guaranteed of getting 30 bags and above, plant maize. But let's do the mathematics. How much is a bag of maize?
Right now.
Gunia.
It depends with your with
Around,
the place you're coming.
probably around 3,000? I mean, panda.
3,000 it's on the cheaper side.
On the cheaper side. So assuming a bag of maize is how much? About 5,000?
Yeah, 5,000.
How many bags do you think a farmer has put in? How many farmer will harvest in an acre? 10 bags?
Around 10.
10
Around
bags.
10 bags, yes.
Sindio? This is at most 50,000 shillings.
50,000 shillings.
50, sindio?
Mhm.
50,000.
Mhm.
Cost of production of this will be like 20,000 or more. The same 1 acre, you can get 9 bags of beans. One bag of beans is 13,000 shillings. You use less resources here. You boost nitrogen here.
You've planted a different thing. You're unique. Get the
Remember,
market.
you cannot get githeri without beans.
Yeah. Ah, you can.
That's why you said it has a funny name. But also we have to also think and ask ourselves: Is it the only? I mean, do we need to only plant maize? Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
So far, I think our viewers are really getting to learn a lot. Personally, I'm also learning. There are so many things I didn't know, like for the oranges. You
Yes.
need to tell us about strawberries. Which type of soil? You just test and put the strawberries in any
Let's
soil.
not talk about. I've just seen red and I remember the strawberry.
No, just tell us.
That guy was called Mashombo. I think sometimes he watches our shows. It's called Mashombo. These days it's in Rombo. I went back there. I reached the farm like this. Parked the car. I'm seeing people with red lips. So I assumed, I was wondering. It's just that now Mashombo is a big guy, so he just came with some. I'd already strawberries. I'll tell you about strawberries another day. But there are good varieties that are grown. But you have to make sure you know where you're getting the seedlings from. Yes, and one of the places you can get good seedlings is called Grace Rock Farms. Yeah, so Grace Rock. Go on Facebook, check Grace Rock. You'll get very good cuttings and seedlings that you can plant.
Do you have any background information about where you can grow apples?
Yes, I'm even growing apples in Kajiado.
Ah.
And on Saturday, by the way, on Saturday, the apples ambassador, she's called Kate Wambugu Apples on Facebook, has invited farmers to go and learn about growing apples, getting to understand what you need. I hear seedlings will be available. I'm also going to get mine. And
Are
you
the
will.
seedlings free? or
No,
they are selling?
hapana. Sasa hapo,
Umejua Kenya, we love free things.
you see, that's why you want to plant on 3 acres and say soil testing is expensive. Plant on one and test soil in the other. Yes, so she's also invited people to get to learn about apples. I've planted some apples. I'm still waiting. They take around 2 years to get ready for under good, agricultural practices, which I now add under good climatic agricultural practices. Yes.
Okay, you just said that you keep on repeating that you can use any type of soil. You can plant, your crops can do well in any place as long as you test the soil.
Yes.
Even apples.
You see, when you plant apples, apples then have a recommendation. Remember, a child born in Alaska will not die because of the cold. Neither will one who's born in the hottest area. Both are children. They'll meet somewhere in life and continue. So it is just the conditions that are necessary. If it is Alaska, then huyo mtoto hawezi kuwa anaenda kuswim kama ule anazaliwa pale kuna ocean. Una nini? Si ndio? So those are the things to know, what do I have? What can I add or reduce or manage well with what I have?
You're also a farmer who does not want to release information.
Which one? Let's start again. Ebu ask a question.
You're
ninja.
I'm asking you. I just want you to expound to us or even explain to us.
Yes.
The type of soil or even the conditions under which apples can do well.
Okay. Well, I'm saying it can do anywhere. One, it has to be in a place that is the soil is loose. It should not be compacted. If it is compacted, add manure. That's what I'm saying. You can still grow. I still have farmers who grow apples in black cotton soil. But now the ratio of whatever nutrients are available is dependent on what that soil has. So, for example, you might, the same way we were saying, you can grow mangoes in Kibwezi or in Eastern Province. You can also grow the same in Western Province, but they'll not be as sweet as these other ones. So even apples you can grow anywhere, but you need to ask yourself, will it yield as fast as I want? Growing a crop is more than just the soil. The soil plays a very big part of it, but it's more than just the soil. There's also the climate. How often does it become cold in this area, so that when it is flowering, then I need to make sure that when it is flowering, the activities, the pollination agents. Hey, I've never said that word since primary school. The pollination agents are active, but they cannot be active when it is raining.
Yes.
Yeah. So those are the things now to ask yourself beyond soil. But soil, anything can grow. But beyond soil, then what else can now make sure that this apple that is planted is red will not be harvested because of green because of the soil? Yes.
Okay, let me talk about the cold areas. When you're you're planted your crops in a cold area, you still need to water them. It's a very weird question, but yes, there are people who don't know.
I've never heard of that question.
I'm the first one to ask that. Yes.
Very interesting. There's the weather and there's the roots. Yeah.
When I talk about a cold area, this is what I mean. Maybe there are rains, but not heavy rains, but at least a place like Limuru.
Well, then you have to plant a crop that is tolerant, that is first of all resistant to the weather condition. The other thing is, depending on the crop you've planted, what are the water requirements? Everything has a water requirement. That is why we are told as human beings, whether it is cold or dry, sunny or windy, you need to drink 8 glasses of water. Have you ever heard someone saying, if it's too cold, don't drink water? Because the purpose water serves is very different from that weather. Remember, you still need nutrients to warm the roots for the crop to continue growing. Then water helps the transportation of nutrients from soil to the other parts of the crop. However, then what you need to do, I normally tell tell farmers, you do a water moisture content moisture test. When you put your knee, I almost use another language there. When you put your hand in the soil, then you hold it like you're doing a knee. You're making an otonji. Yeah.
That's our French word and you're taking it.
Yes. So if you open it and the soil is loose, it means it needs water. If the otonji is still holding, then you don't need water. So, but also we also are going technology kidogo. You can also install a water moisture gadget that now tells you, yes, you need water, because it is at the same level as the roots. So it tells you the roots here, this water that came in only went 1 inch, but your roots are 10 inches. So your roots still need water.
The gadget tells you.
Yes. Watch Breakfast Show next week. I'll tell you more about it. So you realize that then it needs water.
I'm interested in knowing about this gadget.
Yes.
Is it covering the whole farm, or is
it's just like a wind. It's just like a wind vane. A wind vane is just one part. Imagine in a whole airport, there's only one wind vane. You don't know wind vane? How many wind gauge?
Wind vane.
Yes, it's only one. At where the strong, and it's not the opposite where the planes. It is actually the opposite, and that's why. And you'll realize that then planes take off against the wind. You get. So I hear, I'm not a pilot. Khalif atuambie. So the wind vane now, it tells you then if you take off, then the wind will be either more or something like that. Yes. So you just need one in a certain radius, and it tells you.
Do you have the gadget?
I'm actually in the process of getting it for my farms. Even here, we'll be able to have it, and it will be. You'll just know. And funny thing with that one, you can actually even connect to your phone, and it will tell you that your farm needs water. Yes. So kama uko hapa and you're a telephone farmer, and then your guys at the farm are telling you tumeweka maji, unaambia my friend, ongezeni.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's a misconception that when it is raining, you don't need water. But sometimes the rain is not enough to penetrate to the roots to help the crop, and that's why you find the rain gauge is normally sunk inside the soil, so that it tells you, and then wataitoa one what level ilifika. Kama ilikuwa 2 inches, then it means it only went 2 inches from the soil. Yes.
Okay, our mid-morning show is still on. We are having Noah Nasiali Kadim, the one and only.
Yes.
The one and only is with us in studio, and he's still educating us on how agricultural system affects the ecosystem. Niliwambia this man has so many experiences. 15 years, 15 years in this industry, not the media industry, the farming industry. It's not an easy one. So he has so many. He has refused to tell us about the strawberries one very well.
Strawberries, I'll tell you guys. I hold you the strawberry to cool up so that we also see the different types of. Strawberry is just strawberry. There's blueberry. There's so there's all those berries that are there. So we know, and then we'll also bring some berries from different places of of Kenya. And then you see you test and see which one has higher sugar content, which one doesn't. Then why do we have this? Like that.
There are strawberries that do not have the high sugar content.
Yes, you can even get watermelon. It's just the same way I'm telling you, even apples can grow everywhere. But what is this apple you'll get from a hot area, and which one you'll get from a cold area? Okay. So that gives you that thing.
I understand that there are different farming systems. Can you tell us more, since you're a farmer? That's why we have you here. Hey. You're going to tell us more about different farming systems.
So there are different farming systems. The different farming systems are dependent on where you come from. For example, in my area where my dad tells me he was born, where he tells me he was born 94 years ago, I have never seen farmers planting sukuma wiki and spinach, labda kwa kitchen garden. I just see them planting sugarcane. And now that sugarcane, the sugar factory is closed. I don't know if it's still in operation now.
I'm already guessing where you're coming from.
Yes. So you can imagine, we even eat bananas that come from Kisii, and yet we have thousands and thousands of acres under sugarcane. And we have actually almost one of the biggest rivers in Kenya that farmers can use to do horticulture. Yes, we've decided to do monoculture sugarcane.
So where do they take the sugar since the factory is closed?
Yeah, that's whether to andike hapa, it will be another show of sugar factories, because I've also seen so many of them have also closed. Yeah. So when it comes to farming systems, I normally say it depends with where, number one, you're coming from, and also now which one do you want to adopt to have the better one. You get my point? So if you want to make sure that you're in the market constantly, then you have to make sure that you also adopt a farming system that enables you to crop rotate but also retain your market at the same time. Yes, because if you plant onions today, then wait for another 3 months, this buyer has already gone to buy from somewhere else. So you need to ask yourself, who am I buying? Who am I farming for? What? Which is the market for my crops? So that now you adopt a farming system that can match your expectation of the heaviness of the pocket.
Can you explain the different types? Because you're telling us that farming systems, it will depend on. You have not told us
So the farming system, for example, you might decide you're doing subsistence farming. So subsistence farming is growing crops for the home and extra you sell, or you do barter trade with your neighbor. Then there is now, I call it the agribusiness, where you actually farming to make sure that you are doing what? You're going to sell. And that will require so many things. It requires you to look at your capital expenses, your operational expenses, your labor, water, and all that. Then also there's, so that one, definitely you've adopted irrigation, because you cannot do you cannot be doing business and you don't have stock. Hata ukikula stock lazima urudishe stock. So the other one is also probably people just deciding they'll do rain-fed farming, So that's what I'm saying. It would be better to discuss that in the context with which what we want to achieve, so that so that we can be able to guide on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're still here with Noah Nasiali. I hope you're still tuning in. We are live on YouTube at A Farmers Media. We are still live on Facebook at A Farmers Media. You can go to our website at www.afarmersmedia.com, and also our Twitter at A Farmers Media with an underscore, A Farmers with a Z. And you can also ask him questions. He's a good farmer of 15 years.
Yep.
He can also train us more and teach us more about our topic of today. Let me just look at some of the comments. I can see people are still tuning in and they are watching. The comments are so many. We are overwhelmed by them, by the way. We appreciate all the comments. Noah,
Yep.
I wanted you to explain to us about irrigation.
Yes.
When you compare the irrigation that you're doing here,
Yes.
the ones that you're using the pipes, I don't really
Drip
know
irrigation.
the drip irrigation.
Yes.
And the ones the local farmers just take water with a basin, go to the shamba, and then you just pour. Which one is the best?
Well, it depends on your source of water. And you'll, as I'm answering this, you realize that then there's so much thought process that you have to go through before you actually say you're farming. So, source of water is key, is paramount. But remember, at the end of the day, you, as a climate smart agriculture farmer, water management is one of the practices that make you climate smart. So if you go and just pour, and this plant, for example, you have a plant here and another one here, why should you pour here? To do what?
You're not helping the plants.
You're not even helping yourself. You just putting, the whole of this place will have so many weeds. You just need to put here and here.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I mean, when you want to eat food, you eat in the mouth. However much you're tired, you'll only use the mouth. So you put where it requires. Not all of this place. Yes.
So when you pour, when you just use the basin and pour the water, are you also affecting the soil?
To some extent, because now then you're helping the soil activate its fertility for giving you weeds. And so if you get weeds, you're going to use extra resources to weed, and then also extra danger to these crops, because then the pests that will be here will affect your crops.
Okay.
Yes. So you don't have to also use only drip, but drip is the most effective, efficient way. You can use bottle irrigation, depending on the size of land. But you see, you cannot do bottle irrigation for 1 acre.
I was looking at at our newspaper today, and they realized that Kenya has been selected as a pilot country for fall of armyworms.
Yes.
I don't know if you're familiar with armyworms.
Yes, yes.
Have they affected your farm before?
Until mpaka nikaenda I won an award.
What do you mean? Tell us more.
You know, but let's finish that. I'll tell you.
They've been selected as a pilot country. I think there are around 8 countries that have been selected by the UN as a way of demonstrating. I think it's one of the countries that will be demonstrating and implementing measures to protect crops, like against armyworms. What do you think of that?
Yes. So the most interesting thing about it. So let me just take it back. One of the reasons why I started doing what I do is because I saw so many challenges, and one of the challenges was called the mighty fall armyworm. That thing, it's like a caterpillar actually.
Yeah.
It eats maize. It can actually destroy, I think, more than 10 acres in one night. When they invade your farm, you can leave the farm in the evening and come back, and you realize all the maize has, the heart of the maize has actually been damaged. That happened to me. Hey, my friend. I planted maize. I didn't know what it is. So somebody kept on telling me that, you have to do what? You spray Omo. You can spray Omo. Somebody said you bring your ash and put on top there. It's still eating. Until when there's a very good friend of mine called Maureen Situma from Syngenta, and a colleague called Njuguna, who visited my farm. I actually sent them a picture. They visited my farm. Then they told me, according to the infestation here, hii mahindi imeenda. So they told me what you need to do is you need to make sure that you attend a meeting. So we went and we were informed about the fall armyworm, what it does, how it affects the crops, the extent of damage within what period, and what insecticide to use. And so I researched on it, used it. I still remember that maize variety was called SY594 from Syngenta, and planted the maize, used the recommended pesticide, and after that, I harvested the maize. So I asked myself, how come farmers don't have this information? So I developed a solution together with a friend, and we went and we actually won the Fall Armyworm Tech Prize. Yes, for helping farmers identify and protect their crops from infestation of the fall armyworm.
Wow.
Yes.
So you are supporting the fact that Kenya have been selected.
Yes, I think it's a very good thing. I think it's an excellent selection, because our staple food is also maize, ugali rather. So with that, they quite a number of farmers lose because of that, because of fall armyworm. They don't even harvest the maize, and yes. So I think it's a good idea. However, I still believe that whatever it is should also trickle down to the smallholder farmer. Yes.
When you look at the dry lands where there is drought, is there possibilities that you can grow crops there? The drought areas.
The drought areas.
Yes.
What helps a plant grow is water. Some of the dry areas, if with sufficient water, they can do sufficient irrigation methods, they can do very well. Israel is dry. Egypt is dry. Botswana, some of my friends come from Botswana, Theo and the team. It's very dry. It's hot. It's Kalahari Desert. They produce some of the best. It's just the water that is required, the nutrients that are measurable that are required. Remember, you have less soil-borne diseases in dry areas. Yes.
Do they also need to test the soil since they are
Testing the soil is paramount. It is standard. It is not for yourself. It is for the health of what is it called, of the crops that you're going to plant, so that you know what nutrients levels are available and what nutrients you need to add.
Okay.
If need be.
Okay.
Yes.
Still keep it here at our Farmers Media. We are going to take our second break. It will be a very short one. And then we come back and speak to our guest for the last time as he tells us his last words.
Okay.
Yes, keep it at Farmers Media.
Felt that the climate has been changing? Perhaps the dry season seems hotter. The rains are too late, or too early, too little, or don't come at all.
You're seeing more pests and diseases on your shamba. All of this can lead to less yields.
By managing your water and soil, you can ensure that your shamba is still productive. This could be as simple as harvesting water from your roofs, investing in solar irrigation, and practicing conservation agriculture such as mulching, crop rotation, and minimum tillage.
Trees are also a part of smart farming and can help you make your farm cooler, keep your soils intact and healthy. Planting fodder crops and turning grasses into hay or silage is another smart way of adapting.
But be aware that even with smart farming, some things will remain out of your control. That's why it's a good idea to think about insurance, as this can cover you from these unforeseen events.
Good soil and water management, along with planting trees and pest and disease control, can also help you increase your yields and income as the climate changes. Conservation agriculture is a way of farming that keeps nutrients and moisture in your soil. It's also a good way of controlling pests and diseases. The three main principles are minimum tillage, mulching, and crop rotation. With minimum tillage, you only disturb the soil where you will be planting. You can do this with a reaper or using a djembe. The second principle is called mulching. This means that you cover your soil with leftover residues such as leaves or maize stovers. This protects your soil from the hot sun while holding moisture in the ground. The mulch material will break down and add nutrients to your soil. Crop rotation is the third principle. You shouldn't plant the same crop on the same piece of land year after year. Instead, rotate between different crop families each season. If you follow these simple principles, you can be certain of healthier soil and higher yields in the long run.
It's just 5 minutes.
Welcome back to our mid-morning show. We are here for the last part of the show. We've been talking about how agricultural system has affected our ecosystem, and we've been having Noah Nasiali Kadima, the one and only. And now I can see our time is winding up, but we've learned a lot from this show today. I want to believe that you've really taught us a lot. So it's enough for you. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes.
You really educated us a lot. Maybe you can tell us your last words before you leave.
Test your soil. That is very important. That's the beginning. It's not the only one. So even if you test your soil and don't do the rest of the things, it's wrong. Test your soil. Go to Sprout Learning, and on the YouTube channel, go to their website, Sprout Learning Open Content. What you'll be able to get a lot of information on how you can be a climate smart farmer.
What to take home, test your soil. Ensure you test your soil before you plant anything. That's all we had for you, my viewer, today. I'm so happy that we had a very interesting guest, a very experienced farmer. I hope we'll have you again next time.
As always.
Yes, please ensure you
Yamacho
come
too,
on time.
Sawa, sawa.
Ensure you come
Thank you
on
very
time.
much for hosting me.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here with us. Keep tuning in at Farmers Media. We're so glad you were with us throughout from the beginning up to now. And now, ensure you just test your soil. That's what I can also tell you, because that's what I've learned today. I've been your host, Mary Oswero. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Conservation agriculture is a way of farming that keeps nutrients and moisture in your soil. It's also a good way of controlling pests and diseases. The three main principles are minimum tillage, mulching, and crop rotation. With minimum tillage, you only disturb the soil where you will be planting. You can do this with a reaper or using a djembe. The second principle is called mulching. This means that you cover your soil with leftover residues such as leaves or maize stovers. This protects your soil from the hot sun while holding moisture in the ground. The mulch material will break down and add nutrients to your soil. Crop rotation is the third principle. You shouldn't plant the same crop on the same piece of land year after year. Instead, rotate between different crop families each season. If you follow these simple principles, you can be certain of healthier soil and higher yields in the long run.